Good afternoon. I pray that your Tuesday was filled with spaces and places of joy, of peace, of happiness, that maybe you were able to laugh out loud because you saw a meme that just tickled your fancy. One of the things that I do that really just makes me feel good is I'm on Twitter. I rarely ever post. I go on Twitter for the comments. The comments are hilarious. So I would invite you, if you have not laughed enough, if you felt like you don't remember the last time you laughed, just get on social media and just look at the memes or read the comments. Take your ego out of it and just look at them as something humorous to look at. We're continuing and really basically wrapping up our conversation about toxic relationships, and I titled this one, Get Out. Get out. We first identified what makes for a toxic relationship. We talked about different things you could do if you and your partner are both willing to work on it. But there are some situations where you probably need to pack your bags and head for that door. And that's when we look at abuse versus toxicity. And one could say, well, toxicity is abusive, but I mean it in a very different way. It says abuse comes in many shapes and sizes. This can make it hard to recognize, especially if you've been in a long-term toxic relationship. Toxic relationships have a high probability of becoming or being abusive, okay? The following signs I'm going to tell you about suggest physical or emotional abuse. And a lot of times we don't focus on emotional abuse. We just focus on physical abuse. But I need to tell you, emotional abuse is just as damaging. As if I said before, the phrase sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me is a lie from the pit of hell. Because words we hold on to. Scars can heal. We may not even remember where we got hit or where we fell or where we got that bruise from. But we remember, and we deeply emotional scars, words that are said are in our DNA. They're held in the very fabric of our being, and it's hard to let it go. And when we are emotionally abused and we're hearing harsh things, it can even begin to change how we feel about ourselves. And that's what makes it abusive. So I'm going to go through these quickly because the point of this is if you're experiencing these things, and I can't tell you how many, you'll have to decide for yourself, then my suggestion to you is to make a plan and get out. Okay? So the first is diminished self-worth. Your partner blames you for everything that goes wrong and makes you feel as if you can't do anything right. This is abusive because you end up feeling small, confused, shamed, and often exhausted. You spend your time trying to recreate yourself or just continually apologizing for yourself. You may feel very confident on your job, but your partner, your spouse, makes you feel like you're the biggest dummy walking. They say this can be done by patronizing, dismissing, or even embarrassing you in public. If that's happened, pack your bags. It's time to go. It's time to make a plan. If you're experiencing chronic stress and anxiety, and it says it's normal to have periods of frustration with your partner or doubts about your future together, but you shouldn't be spending significant amounts of time worrying about the relationship or for your safety, worrying about your safety or your security. If you're in chronic stress because you don't feel like you're safe, you don't know if you're safe, if it doesn't feel very safe or it doesn't feel very secure, it's time to make a plan to get it moving. Chronic stress and anxiety has an effect on your physiological body. It can cause you to have a stroke. It can cause you to have all sorts of health things. So do you want to, your health versus staying with this person? Pack your bags, it's time to go. If you're experiencing separation from friends and family, sometimes dealing with a toxic relationship can cause you to withdraw from friends and family because you don't really want them to see the dynamic. But an abusive partner may forcefully keep you away from your support network. For example, they may unplug the phone while you're talking or get on your face to distract you. They may also convince you that your loved ones don't want to hear from you anyway. The point is, it's abusive when your partner is forcibly or intentionally trying to keep you away from your family and your support system. They're trying to keep you isolated. It's time to pack your bags and head out that door or make a plan. If it's interfering with your work or with school, if they're forbidding you to get a job or you're not able to study, it's another form of trying to isolate and control you. They may also attempt to humiliate you at your workplace or school by causing a scene or talking to your boss or your teachers. That is abusive behavior. If you're experiencing fear and intimidation, an abusive partner might explode with rage, or yours may not necessarily be the exploder. It may be using intimidation tactics, such as slamming their fists into the wall or not allowing you to leave the house during the fight. You're trying to walk away and they're stalking in back of you. You're trying to create some space so you can get yourself together, and they're kicking the door in. They won't give you a moment of peace. And so now you're afraid and you're feeling intimidated. They may get up into your face. They may be using a size differential. They're significantly taller or bigger than you, and they're using their bodies in ways that can be very intimidating. Getting right up in someone's face can be extremely intimidating. But particularly if you're trying to get some peace, you're trying to get a timeout and they won't allow it, they keep following you, pack your bags, start heading out the door. We've talked earlier about name calling and put down. Insults aimed to humiliate and belittle your interests, your appearance, or accomplishments are all verbal abuse. If you're hearing things like, you're worthless, you can't do anything right, no one else could ever love you, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too dark, you're too light, you're too whatever, you're too dumb, that's all verbal abuse. Another sign is financial restrictions. If your person you're with, your toxic relationship, if they control all the money, you have no say-so. They're keeping meticulous records of what's coming out and what's going in, even on your own bank account. If they're restricting access to credit cards or just give you just enough money to take care of the house, that can be deemed as emotionally abusive because it's very controlling. They're making sure that they can control you through lack of financial resources. Unfortunately, for a lot of people who may find themselves in abusive relationships, one of the key things that keeps them from leaving is they don't have financial resources. But there are some places that can help you. There is some help that you can get, and I'll talk about it at the end of this. Gaslighting. Gaslighting basically is when that person in your life is trying to convince you that what you're experiencing is not real. When you say to them, why do you treat me like this? Why are you doing this to me? And they're responding, I haven't done anything. This is clearly your imagination. Or you took it out of context. You're completely wrong. Or they may flip it back and say, no, you're the one with the problem. You're the one who has anger issues. When they're putting it back on you, when you know that you know that you know what you've been experiencing. The question comes down to, who are you going to believe? You know, are you going to believe them? Or are you going to believe what you have experienced? And threats of self-harm. I know someone years ago who was in a relationship, and one of the things that he would do to try to prevent her from expressing herself or dissolving the relationship, he would threaten to kill himself. You know, he would threaten to kill himself. And these threats of suicide or self-harm are ways to pressure you into doing things that you may not necessarily want to do. And I've seen this being done not just in intimate relationships, but with parents and children and all types of relationships. Threats of, well, if you do that, I'm just going to hurt myself. I'm just going to end it all. That's abusive because they're trying to make it your fault. They're not taking responsibility. Time to pack your bags and head out the door. And the big one, physical violence. Threats and verbal insults can escalate very quickly to physical violence. If your partner is pushing, slapping, or hitting you, the relationship has become dangerous. If they are, trying to say that it was your fault, you caused them to behave like that, if only you would be able to cook better or stay in your place or don't irritate me, whatever they're saying to justify physically harming you, it's time to pack your bags. Make a plan first, pack your bags. You may not even have time to get a bag, but make a plan and head out the door. Your life depends on it. The lives of your children depend on it. I'm not saying this person is going to kill you, but people do die unintentionally. It was not the perpetrator's intention, but things happen. So pack your bag. If you're in an abusive relationship, pack your bag and head out the door. If you are in an abusive relationship, there's a National Domestic Violence Hotline, and they provide services at no cost, 24/7. Okay. I will post in the description some other places that you can access to get help if you are in an abusive relationship. But first and foremost, know that today can be the beginning of a new life for you. Make a plan, get some help, pack your bags and head out the door, because abusive relationships will not resolve on their own. They will not, and your safety is paramount. I love you all. I advise you, if things have resonated with you in this video, you may want to watch it more than once. If it's become triggering for you, you may want to watch it. That's also information for you. My desire is that you have life, that you have it abundantly, that you have joy, that you have peace, simply because you deserve it. Your children deserve it. And guess what? Your perpetrator deserves it also. Because people who are abusive, they have their own story. Everything comes from somewhere. They didn't come out the womb. Very few people came out the womb just like that. But that does not mean that you have to be a part of their healing. That does not, and continue to be abused while that's happening. Sometimes the best thing we can do is step away. To step away and love people from a distance. And sometimes we need to do that with intentionality and on purpose. Love you all. Look forward to talking to you again. I pray that this series has been of help to you. And if so, let me know, like, and share. Bye-bye.